What's up, witches? I'm here dressed as a witch to tell you stories and entertain you because it's Halloween. I have my coffee in a festive pumpkin mug. I have my longest and tangliest of wigs. I have festive Halloween nails. Ooh, I don't know if you can see them. There we go. And I'm filming this festively and spookily in front of my closet on my iPhone that is very, very carefully balanced on some books and a little tray table. So if this whole thing looks a little bit off center, that's why. And yoroshiku, deal with it. But I have had a couple of spiritual encounters. I'm going to call them that because I'm not sure that ghost sightings is the correct word. Throughout my years living on this green earth. So I have been living in Japan since 2013. Before that, I was born and raised in America in the beautiful, very cow-filled, foresty southern state of Georgia. So I've seen some stuff, but today I'm going to tell you about the spiritual encounters that I have experienced. Were they actual spirits? Were they actual ghosts? I have no idea. I cannot tell you that. That is up to you to determine. But I'll tell you what I saw, and I'll tell you the situation around it. There's 3 I'm going to introduce to you today. Get ready. We're going to start off with the Green Man. The Green Man. I don't know if you notice anything about him, but he has crazy, crazy mutton chops. So, when I was very, very small, a very tiny little child, my mother and I used to go to my grandmother's house very often. And we would often go there, have dinner together, and stay over for the night. My mother, she had a bedroom that was across the main hallway of this house. And the house was very, very old. So this hallway was quite big, and she would stay in her bedroom on the other side of the hallway while I would fall asleep watching cartoons and stuff on TV on the living room. I'll put a kind of map or a floor layout of how this house looked, as far as I know. The part that's not drawn, by the way, I've actually never been back there that I can remember, so I have no idea what that area looked like. This house is very old though. I'm not sure when it was originally built, but it has to be at least more than 100 years old. Here's some footage of when Ryo and I went and had a look at it when I was back home in 2023.
今本当に誰も住んでへん。
なんかちっちゃい時で、なんか私ここでお化け見たよ。
あ、言ってたやつ。
そう。
あれここで。
そうそうそう。
そうやね。
そうそうそう。
あ、そうそう。
Anyway, one night as a wee child, I fell asleep watching cartoons on the couch, on the sofa there in my grandmother's living room. My grandmother was sleeping in her own room. My mother was sleeping in her room across the hall. And I heard sounds. And this house was always very, very creepy. It was very old, so it made a lot of sounds, like creaks and squeaks and like, I don't know, there might have been mice or something. Have no idea. It was very big. I fell asleep, or I might have been kind of half asleep, if you will. But I heard a sound in the hallway, and since this house was so creaky and old and dark and big, I was always a little bit creeped out by it. And I just remember I heard these sounds of footsteps, someone out in the hallway. So I thought, oh, my mom is asleep across the hallway. It's gotta be my mom. So I get up from the couch, And I go very, very quietly over to the hallway because it's creepy and I don't want to wake up ghosts. And I wonder, kind of out, I just like peek out a little from the door and I look, and right across from this door there is a big staircase that goes up to the second floor with this huge old type of like handrail that's like made out of wood. And the handrail comes about like right here in front of me. And I'm standing right here, coming out of the door, looking for my mom. And I can see this hand coming, like grasping the handrail, and it's coming down the handrail in front of me. And I look up. The fingers are like, they're obviously a man's. They're these long, pale fingers. And it was a man's hand. And when I looked up over the railing at who the hand belonged to, it belonged to this guy. And I drew him like side profile because that's how he was when I saw him. He was going down the stairs, very tall, very thin, very like bony, and he appeared completely green. And the one thing that I remember the most is he had these huge mutton chop sideburns, right? That just like stuck out in front of his ears. And he was going down the stairs, and I had no idea. He was wearing an old suit too, I should mention. He was wearing a very like old stiff looking suit as he was going down the stairs, grabbing the handrail. And he turned and he looked in my direction. I freaked out and I ran back into my grandmother's living room and shut the door. I don't remember talking to my mother or my grandmother about it, but this past Christmas, when I was home for the holidays in 2023, we went to see my grandmother's house because I wanted to show it to Ryo, how creepy and old and big it was. So we drove by and it was still there. And later, we mentioned that at the holiday party we have a Christmas party with my family every Christmas Eve, where we go to my uncle's house, or all of my uncles and aunts, they come to our house and we open presents and eat dinner together. And we watch Shrek 2 a lot. Anyway, very interestingly, I brought up the guy that I saw on the staircase when I was really, really little, the green man, and my family started talking about how interesting it was that actually there was a man who lived upstairs in my grandmother's house that fit that description. He had the huge sideburns, tall, thin, and he is a man who hung himself in the closet up there. My grandmother, she used to rent out the upstairs rooms to this house because it was so huge and she didn't need them living there all by herself anymore. One of the men who lived up there when my mother was in high school or college hung himself from the closet upstairs. My mother was baking a cake in the kitchen downstairs, and she remembers my grandmother coming to take her out of the kitchen and saying, "Come on, let's go outside." So my mother went outside, but nobody would tell her what had happened. She only found out later that the man who had been living upstairs had hung himself in the closet. And according to all of my family at this party, he looked just like the description that I gave them of the green man. The funny part though was I mentioned the suit and everyone was like, "Oh, that guy definitely never had a suit like that." And then we got onto a discussion about what kind of clothes do you wear when you're a ghost? Is it decided? If you know, let me know. Next. Angry legs, angry legs, angry legs. What is this one called? Angry legs. The legs were not angry, but I was angry when I saw the legs. When I was in about middle school or junior high school, as they call it here, I was a dancer and I used to go to dance school in the evenings. And on our ride home, my mom and I would go through this long road that was not very well lit, and it went by a park, like a really big park in my hometown. My mother and I, we fight a lot. This has been a whole thing in my entire life. We just fight. We fight constantly. And we were having another fight while we rode together through this long road, kind of winds, if you will, through this huge, very, very dark park on our way home from my dance class. And we were into some kind of fight, and we were yelling at each other in the car. And my mother is sitting beside me. She's yelling at me, and I was yelling at her. But I remember at one point she was saying something, and I noticed the road. She was looking at me while driving, but I noticed the road in front of us. We had the headlights on, but there aren't a lot of lights that come up on either side of the road, so it's really, really dark. I noticed a pair of legs walking in the middle of the road right in front of where we were going in our car. And we were approaching pretty quickly, and it looked like there was a man. There were two legs. It kind of looked like he was wearing like brownish kind of baggy kind of pants. I can't think of the word pants. But he had on like nice shoes, right? Not like sneakers or something. I have no idea. I couldn't see anything else of the man other than really his legs. He had like kind of like a jacket, you know. And right as we were approaching, I yelled at my mom, "There's a man walking there," so she would stop. She screeched to a halt, and we went right through where the man would have been. We paused. I didn't see anybody fleeing, anybody jumping to the side of the road. There was no one out there. It was really, really dark, but there didn't seem to be anyone. And it was so fast. We definitely should have hit him, but we didn't hit anyone. Anyway, I was really, really angry, and that's when I saw that guy, so I call him Angry Legs. My mother never saw the guy. She has no recollection of it. She was looking at me, she was yelling at me, so it'll be a mystery forever.
Twin lights, twin lights, twin lights, twin lights, twin lights, twin lights.
You can't see that at all, can you? Anyway, the Twin Lights is a story about when I used to live in an area of Tokyo called Akabane. Akabane is kind of like North Tokyo. It's in the ward Kitaku. So I used to live there with a friend. We all shared a house, and I would walk oftentimes from the house to Akabane station in the evening to go meet friends and go drinking together. If you've ever been to Akabane, you know it's like a huge drinking area. There's like a ton of like small bars and izakayas over there. If you don't know Akabane and you plan on going to Tokyo, you definitely need to go drinking there because it's a lot of fun. And it's not so expensive, I think, as far as like Tokyo neighborhoods. But this is beside the point. So if you don't know, in Japan, the idea of tamashi, they're like little balls of light. They're basically human souls. And what I saw, I think was kind of similar to this idea. It could be something completely different, like will-o-wisps, or even just weird reflections that somehow danced around. I was walking to Akabane station to go meet a friend for drinks, and the way that I have to walk from the house in Akabane to the station, I go kind of down like a hill, this really long staircase, and then I went kind of a little bit more down a hill through some winding roads onto one big road, and then I took that big road to the station. I didn't explore that area a lot because really it's just like a lot of houses. It's like a huge neighborhood. Anyway, I was walking at night. I was looking at my phone. When I see something flashing, I had just gotten to the big road, right? And this road is not so busy. There's not a ton of cars that come by there. Waiting for the train to go by. Again. This This one's taking its time. There's not a ton of cars that go by there either, so it's super easy to cross, even though it is quite wide. So I wasn't really looking up or paying attention. I was just walking. I crossed the street and I see these lights flashing in front of me. These two like balls of light, it seemed. They look like just seemed to be like moving like this together, and they were moving like this, and they crossed the road in front of me. They went directly onto the sidewalk in front of me like this, and then where there was a wall that turned off into another side street going towards the station, they turned at the wall and they went that way. And I looked around. There was no one around me. There's no cars going by. There's no bicyclists. Even the shops that are in that area were pretty dark, and it was just very, very confusing. The next day, when I walked back in that area, I looked up that hill from where the two lights had come from, because they came down from a side street on the other side of the big road, and they came down this hill. And when I looked up there, yappari, actually that hill leads to a giant cemetery. Conclusion. So ultimately, do I believe in ghosts? I'm not sure. But if you remain this long, I have one more tale for you.
Hotel tag.
Hotel tag. This is what I'm calling an experience that happened when Ryo and I stayed in a onsen hotel in Hakone. Hakone is a small town kind of separated from Tokyo. There are a lot of really popular hot springs and onsen hotels up there that you can stay at. It's really beautiful, highly recommend. When Ryo and I first started dating, we went to an onsen hotel, a hot spring hotel up in Hakone. At that time, I was a little hungover from the day before when we arrived. When we got into our room, we put the futon out on the floor, and I just kind of like got in and laid there and pretended to be dead for a while. You know how you do when you're hungover. Train. As I was laying there, so there's this part where the futon comes off of the, like, usually the duvet cover kind of comes off of the futon and like stays on the floor at the bottom. And I guess I had it quite low, so a lot of that cover was sitting on the floor, and I was facing the door. So right in front of me there's this door, and you can open the door, so like a sliding door, and you can go out, and there is a bathroom to the left, and then if you go straight you can go back out into the hallway. Well, the door was open, the sliding door was open. Ryo was in the back of the room doing something. I think he was sitting playing on his phone, and I was laying there in the futon. I had the futon like this. I was like, suddenly I felt like something was chasing, someone was chasing someone. It felt like children. And have you ever been like, have you ever been sleeping and then like someone runs and kind of like runs over the edge of your futon? It felt in that moment like there were two kids playing chase or tag or something like that. I don't know, but they were running. They ran into my room. One of them, the one in the front, stepped on the front of the futon, realized I was there, and they both kind of like backed away. So it was very, very vivid. I didn't see them. I think I had my eyes closed, but but I felt it. It was very real. Like the cover even like kind of pulled, you know? It made that kind of thing that happens when someone steps on your bed cover. Anyway, that was my onsen hotel experience. I have no idea if that place is haunted. I have no idea if that was real. Maybe I'm just delusional. Maybe I was just really hungover and being weird. Those are all my ghost experiences that I have to talk about. If I ever have more, I will come back and let you know, but I don't actively look for ghosts, and the idea of seeing one terrifies me. But yeah, that's it. With that said, have a very happy Halloween. Go do some witchy stuff, and always remember to drink your coffee before it gets completely cold. I'm sorry, I forgot you. Bye. Woo. You guys know what this is.